everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something really cool today, something you actually sent our way.
Yeah.
It's a paper that's causing like a major stir in the tech world right now, all about AI and the future of coding.
Hmm.
So get ready because we're going to explore how AI is moving beyond just little code snippets to building like full-fledged multi-file software projects.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff.
It is.
The paper is called EpiCoder, encompassing diversity and complexity in code generation.
Right.
And it's making some bold claims saying it's overcoming some big limitations of current AI coding tools. So let's break this down.
Okay.
What is this EpiCoder and what makes it so special?
Well, one of the most groundbreaking things about it is this idea of a feature tree to represent the code.
Okay.
Think about it this way. Imagine you give an AI like a huge box of Legos, right?
Yeah.
Without any plan or instructions, it might build something, but it's probably going to be a jumbled mess.
Right, just a random pile of bricks, not exactly helpful software.
Exactly. But if you give it a blueprint, a detailed plan, then it can create something way more complex, something meaningful.
Okay.
And that's what this feature tree does. It's not just about the individual lines of code. It's more like understanding the relationships between those lines.
Gotcha.
How data flows through the program, what depends on what, and how different parts interact.
So the feature tree is kind of like a blueprint mapping out the logic and all the connections within the code.
Exactly.
That's super clever.
And what's really cool is that by tweaking like the depth and breadth of this feature tree, researchers can actually control how complex the AI-generated code becomes.
Oh, interesting.
It's like adding more detail to that blueprint, going from a basic sketch to a full-blown architectural plan with every little detail included.
So it's not just about spitting out more lines of code, but generating code with the right level of sophistication for whatever you're trying to build.
Yeah.
That's where the controllable complexity comes in.
Exactly. You can use EpiCoder to create anything from like a simple function to a massive multi-file project, just by adjusting the feature tree's level of detail.
Okay, I'm starting to see the power here, but how does this play out in the real world? Did they actually like test this thing out?
They did. Big time.
Okay.
They ran it through a ton of standard benchmarks and even created their own called X-File Dep, which is specifically designed to challenge AI with these super complex multi-file projects.
Oh, wow.
And guess what? EpiCoder completely blew the other models out of the water, especially when it came to those multi-file tasks.
That's impressive. But I'm sure some developers out there are thinking, okay, it passes tests, but can it do something useful in the real world? Like, can I actually use this thing?
That's a great question, and the researchers thought about that too. They gave EpiCoder a really tough task. Imagine you're working on a project with a bunch of different code files all linked together.
Right.
Now one of those files is missing, and you need to recreate it based on how it connects to the rest of the project.
Oh, man.
It's like solving a puzzle, but you only have half the pieces.
That sounds like a nightmare. But that's exactly the kind of problem developers face all the time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And get this, EpiCoder was actually able to solve it. It generated that missing file, taking into account all those connections and dependencies with the other files.
Amazing.
It's like having an AI teammate who can jump in and fill in those gaps,
That's what I'm talking about. A real-world application that could save so much time and headaches for developers.
Yeah.
But wait, it gets even crazier. They used EpiCoder to generate a whole code repository, right?
Right.
Something called Llama Factory with over 50 files.
That's right. They basically gave EpiCoder the feature tree for that entire project, which is already pretty complex.
Right.
It's like handing it the master blueprint for a whole building, And incredibly, it was able to recreate the entire repository mirror image.
No.
Over 50 files, all working perfectly together as intended.
That's mind-blowing. So we've seen that it can create complex code, but how do we know it's actually more complex than what other AI systems can do? Did they try to prove that?
Yeah, they didn't just want to make claims, they wanted to back it up with solid evidence.
Okay.
They went deep into analysis using established software engineering metrics to actually measure the complexity of the code.
So they're like code critics using all these fancy metrics to judge the AI's work?
Pretty much. They use things like Halstead complexity, which looks at the number of operators and operands in the code,
Okay.
and cyclomatic complexity, which measures how many different paths of execution there are, basically how much branching and decision-making is happening.
So higher scores on those metrics mean more intricate and sophisticated code.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they didn't stop there. They also looked at the strictness complexity. which checks if the code follows best practices.
Mm.
Good documentation, error handling, and modular design. Basically, is this code well-structured and easy to maintain?
They're really putting this code under a microscope.
Yeah. And they did something pretty unique, too.
Oh.
They used another AI GPT-4 as an independent judge.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah. They fed both EpiCoder's code and code from other models to GPT-4
Okay.
and asked it to evaluate the complexity across a bunch of different dimensions.
So it's like an AI code-off. Using one AI to judge the work of another. That's wild. So what did GPT-4 think? Was EpiCoder's code impressive?
It was. GPT-4 consistently rated EpiCoder's code as more complex and sophisticated than the others. It scored higher in all the areas they looked at, like the use of data structures, modularity, and how it handled third-party libraries.
So it passed the AI judge test.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the complexity down. But there's another important piece to this puzzle, right? Diversity.
Right.
How do we know EpiCoder isn't just churning out the same types of code over and over again? We want it to be versatile, not a one-trick pony.
That's a great point. And the researchers addressed that too. They turned to GPT-4 again.
Yep.
But this time, they used it to analyze the different features present in the generated code. They wanted to see if EpiCoder was using a broad vocabulary of coding techniques, so to speak.
So like checking if it's just repeating the same patterns it saw in the training data.
Exactly. And the results were pretty amazing. EpiCoder generated a much wider range of features than what's found in existing datasets,
Wow.
especially in areas like data processing and error handling, which are super important for real-world software.
So not only complex, but diverse. That's a powerful combo.
But hold on, there's always that question of data leakage.
Uh-huh.
How do we know EpiCoder didn't just memorize the benchmark tests and spit out pre-canned answers?
Yeah, good point.
Did they address that?
They were very careful about that. They used something called embedding analysis to make sure there was no funny business going on.
Okay, break that down for me. What's embedding analysis?
Well, imagine they created a unique fingerprint for every piece of code in their training data.
Okay,
Then they compared those fingerprints to the code EpiCoder generated on the tests.
gotcha.
If there were any close matches, it would be a red flag that EpiCoder might just be regurgitating stuff it had already seen.
So it's like a plagiarism checker for code.
Exactly.
Interesting. And what did the analysis show? Any evidence of cheating? They found very little evidence of data leakage,
Okay.
even though their data set was massive,
Right.
which makes it more likely to find accidental matches.
Right.
There were very few instances where the similarity scores were high enough to be concerning.
Okay, so it seems like the results are legit. EpiCoder is the real deal. This is seriously impressive stuff. It feels like we're on the verge of a major shift in how software is developed.
Yeah, I think so.
But if AI is going to be this involved in actually creating code, it raises some big questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Like if it can build entire repositories like this,
Right.
what does that mean for someone learning to code today? Will they even need to learn all the nitty-gritty details if an AI can just do it for them?
That's the question everyone's asking.
Right.
And here's the thing. Even with AI generating complex code, understanding the fundamentals of programming is going to be more important than ever.
Really? Why is that?
Because you still need someone to be the architect, the one who defines the problem, designs the overall solution, and guides the AI.
Oh.
It's like having an amazing construction crew, but you still need someone to create the blueprint and make sure they're building the right thing.
So even with these super-powered AI coding assistants, we still need humans to be the brains of the operation.
Exactly. You need to understand what the AI is doing, why it's making certain choices, and how to make sure the final product meets your goals.
Makes sense.
This means having a good grasp of programming concepts, even if you're not writing every single line of code from scratch.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not about being replaced by AI. It's about working alongside it, using its strengths while still being in control. I can see how this could really change the world of software development.
It really is an exciting time. We're starting to see tools pop up that use AI to help programmers
Yeah.
write code faster, catch bugs earlier, and even suggest improvements to their code structure.
Yeah.
It's all about enhancing what humans can do.
So it's not AI versus humans. It's more like AI with humans.
Exactly.
That's a much more optimistic outlook.
I think so too.
This collaboration could unlock a whole new level of creativity and productivity. Imagine being able to offload all the boring, repetitive coding tasks to an AI and free up your brain to focus on the bigger picture, things like user experience, solving those really complex problems, and coming up with innovative solutions.
That's the dream.
Right, a developer's dream.
Totally.
But let's go back to this future tree concept for a second.
Yeah.
Did the researchers talk about any downsides to this approach?
Hmm.
There's got to be a catch somewhere, right?
Of course, every new technology has its challenges. One thing with feature trees is that they take a lot of effort to create and maintain.
I can imagine.
You're essentially building a model of how a programming language works. And as languages evolve, those feature trees need to evolve too.
So it's like having a huge library of architectural blueprints. It's awesome for common building types.
Yeah.
But if you're designing something totally unique, you might need to draw up custom plans.
Exactly. Another thing is that feature trees are based on existing code. So if that training data is limited or biased in some way, it could affect the code that EpiCoder generates.
Right. If the AI is only exposed to a narrow range of coding styles, or if the training data is skewed towards certain types of applications,
Yeah.
it might not be able to generate truly innovative code stuff that's outside the box.
Exactly.
So making sure the training data is diverse is super important.
Very important.
We need to expose these AI systems to as many different coding approaches and application domains as possible.
For sure.
Are the researchers thinking about ways to overcome these limitations?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They mentioned a bunch of areas for future research. One is automating the creation and updating of those feature trees, maybe even using AI to help with that.
Interesting.
And another is developing ways to detect and reduce bias in the training data
Okay.
to make sure the AI is learning from a wide and representative set of code examples.
That makes sense. That's encouraging. It seems like they're thinking long term, not just about what it can do right now. Okay, so we've talked about the tech, the potential, and even some of the limitations. But for you, what's the biggest takeaway? What's the most exciting part of all this?
For me, what's really exciting about EpiCoder is not just that it can generate complex code,
Right.
it's what it represents. It's a
Yeah.
fundamental shift in how we think about AI's role in software development. We're moving away from AI as just a simple code completion tool
Right.
to a more collaborative model where AI and human developers work together much more closely.
So it's more of a partnership.
Exactly.
That's a great point. We're not just automating tasks, we're actually augmenting human capabilities, creating this powerful combination of human creativity and AI efficiency.
Yeah, I think so.
But that brings up a whole bunch of new questions, doesn't it?
Of course.
Like, if AI is going to be this deeply involved in actually creating code,
Right.
how does that change things like ownership and responsibility? What happens when AI-generated code has a bug? Who's to blame?
That is the question.
Right.
It's a big one. And it's causing a lot of head scratching in the legal world right now. We're in uncharted territory when it comes to AI and intellectual property.
Yeah, it gets tricky, right? If the AI is making big decisions in the coding process, where do we draw the line between human creation and machine output?
It's super complex.
Yeah.
And as AI systems keep getting more sophisticated, it's only going to get trickier. There are a lot of discussions happening right now about whether we need totally new legal frameworks to handle AI-generated content, or if we can adapt our existing copyright laws to this new reality.
I see.
Yeah.
And what about accountability? If AI-written code malfunctions and causes harm, who's held responsible? The programmer, the company that created the AI, could the AI itself be held liable?
Well, right now, holding the AI itself accountable isn't really possible legally.
Right.
It's not considered an entity that can be responsible, so the liability would probably fall on the humans involved, the developers, the companies, maybe even the people using the AI-generated code. But figuring out exactly who is at fault in these situations is going to be really difficult, especially as AI systems become more autonomous in their decision-making.
It sounds like we're going to need some serious ethical guidelines and legal precedents to figure all this out.
Yeah.
This isn't just about the tech itself, it's about the impact it has on society as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to consider the potential effects on the job market, on education, even on how we understand creativity and innovation.
Right.
These are huge questions that go way beyond just the technical side of AI.
Okay, so to recap, we've taken a deep dive into this groundbreaking EpiCoder research,
Yes.
explored its really innovative approach to generating complex and diverse code. We've seen how it has the potential to revolutionize software development,
Right.
maybe even free up human developers to focus on higher-level tasks, while AI handles the more tedious aspects of coding. But we also talked about some potential challenges, those limitations with feature trees, and the big legal and ethical questions that come up when AI starts to play a more active role in the creative process. What's really important to remember is that the future of coding is collaborative.
Yeah.
It's not about AI replacing humans. It's about AI and humans working together to push the boundaries of what's possible in software development.
I agree.
And that means carefully thinking about how we design, train, and use these powerful AI systems
Yeah.
so that we're using them responsibly and ethically.
Very important.
Well said. It's clear that we're on the edge of a major transformation in how software is created.
For sure.
And as always, the most important thing is to stay informed.
Yes.
Keep asking those critical questions and be a part of these important conversations.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of AI and code generation. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, it was great having you.
Yeah.
It really does get complicated.
Right.
And if AI is writing code, what about when that code has a bug?
Yeah.
Who's accountable then? Like, is it the programmer, the company that built the AI? Or could the AI itself be held liable?
Well, that's a tough one. Holding the AI itself accountable.
Right.
It's not really on the table right now, legally speaking.
Right.
It's not seen as an entity that can actually be responsible.
Right.
So the liability would probably fall on the humans involved,
Yeah.
the developers, the companies, maybe even the people using the AI-generated code.
Okay.
But figuring out exactly who is at fault
Right.
in those situations is going to be really tough, especially as AI systems get more and more autonomous
Yeah,
in how they make decisions.
that's true.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're going to need some serious ethical guidelines and legal precedents to navigate this new landscape.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the technology, right?
Mm.
It's about the impact it has on society as a whole.
For sure. Yeah.
So to wrap things up,
Okay.
we've gone deep into this EpiCoder research and explored how it can generate really complex and diverse code. We've seen the potential to change how software is developed, maybe even allowing developers to work on higher-level tasks while AI handles the more tedious parts of coding.
Right. Sure.
But we've also discussed the challenges, those limitations with the feature tree approach,
Right.
and those big ethical and legal questions that come up as AI plays a bigger part in the creative process.
High volley.
I think the key takeaway is that the future of coding is about collaboration.
I agree.
It's not about AI replacing humans. It's about AI and humans working together
Yes.
to push the boundaries of what's possible in software development.
Partnership. Yeah.
Exactly. And that means thinking carefully about how we design these AI systems,
Okay.
how we train them, and how we use them
Absolutely.
so that we're using them responsibly and ethically.
Very important.
It's clear that a major shift is happening in how software is created.
For sure.
And as always, it's crucial to stay informed.
Yes.
Keep asking those tough questions and be part of the conversation. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into AI and code generation. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, it was great having you. Yeah, it really does get murky, doesn't it? Like, when the AI is playing such a big part in writing the code, where do we even draw the line?
It's a tough one, for sure. And as these AI systems become more advanced, it's only going to get more complicated. There are folks talking about whether we need like whole new legal systems to handle AI-generated stuff,
Wow.
or if we can just tweak the copyright laws we already have.
Yeah, big questions.
Big questions. And then there's accountability. If AI-written code messes up and
Mhm.
causes some kind of harm, who's responsible then? Is it the programmer? The company that made the AI? Could we even say the AI itself is liable?
That's a really interesting thought.
It is.
Yeah.
But legally, right now, holding the AI accountable just isn't possible.
Right.
It's not seen as an entity that can be responsible.
Right.
So most likely the liability falls back on us, the humans involved.
Us.
The developers, the companies, maybe even the people using that AI-generated code.
I see.
But even pinning down exactly who is at fault is going to be really difficult,
Yeah.
especially as these AI systems become more autonomous in their decision-making.
Right. They're making more of the decisions on their own.
Exactly.
It sounds like we're going to need to really think about ethical guidelines and set some legal precedents to navigate this new world.
We do. It's a whole new world.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the technology itself. It's about how it impacts society.
Right. Like all the ripple effects.
Yeah, all the ripple effects. We got to think about the potential impacts on jobs, on education, even on how we understand creativity and innovation. Huge questions that go way beyond just the tech itself.
Absolutely. Okay, so to sum it all up,
Yeah.
we took a deep dive into this really groundbreaking EpiCoder research.
It is groundbreaking.
And we explored how it can generate complex and diverse code.
Right.
And it really does have the potential to revolutionize how we develop software.
I think so.
Maybe even free up developers to focus on those higher level tasks while AI handles the more tedious stuff.
Right. More of that partnership.
Exactly. But we also talked about some potential challenges, the limitations with that feature tree approach, and of course, the big ethical and legal questions that come with AI becoming a more active player in the creative process.
It's a whole new world for sure.
It is. What we need to remember is that the future of coding is all about collaboration.
I agree.
It's not about AI replacing humans. It's about AI and humans working together, pushing the boundaries of what we can do with software development.
Building amazing things together.
Exactly. And that means being really thoughtful about how we design and train these powerful AI systems and using them in a responsible and ethical way.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been a great conversation.
It really has. Well, it looks like we're out of time for today, but this is just the beginning of the conversation.
It is.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and as always, keep questioning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It was great having you.